Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and Giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things Giallo here on The King in Giallo. We are continuing our coverage for the first pseudo-Giallo film from Francisco Lara Plop, Murder Mansion, released on August 5th, 1972. In this video, I will give you a condensed version of the full-length overview video, covering only the cast and crew and the plot of the movie. Then I'll transition into the GialliTally. The GialliTally will contain heavy spoilers. Well, let's waste no time and get right into it. Here is Murder Mansion Overview. Murder Mansion, also known as La Mansión de la Niebla and Maniac Mansion, is a Spanish-Italian co-production released on August 5th, 1972. The film is directed by Francisco Lara Plop. The screenplay is written by Luis G. de Blain and Antonio Troisio. Music is composed by Marcello Giombini. The cast is comprised of Galli, billed under her frequent pseudonym Evelyn Stewart, as Martha Clinton, Analia Gade as Elsa, Andrés Resino as Fred, Lisa Leonardi as Laura, Alberto Dalbes as Ernest, and Franco Fantasia as Mr. Porter. The plot follows a group of strangers who become stranded in a thick, unnatural fog while traveling through the countryside near a cemetery. Forced to seek shelter, they find themselves in a gloomy, secluded mansion owned by the mysterious and icy Martha Clinton. As the night progresses, eerie tales of vampirism, grave robbing, and a cursed legacy begin to surface. With the house cut off and the atmosphere growing more oppressive, guests begin to turn up dead, suggesting that the sinister legends may hold more truth than anyone expected, and that someone or something is picking them off one by one. But I digress. On to the GialliTally. Spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't yet seen the film. You've been warned. My prediction for the movie's GialliTally score. In my unscripted review video, I predicted around 525 to 575 points. Well, let's begin the GialliTally portion of the video, beginning as always with the previewing cliches. The repeat offenders are 1 point for actor, 3 for writer, 3 for composer, and 5 for director. Analia Gade was in the Eye of the Hurricane, 1 point. Galli, aka Evelyn Stewart, was in The Blood-Stained Butterfly, The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, The Weekend Murders, and The Sweet Body of Deborah, 4 points. Lisa Leonardi was in All the Colors of the Dark and The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, 2 points. Franco Fantasia was in 7 Blood-Stained Orchids and Cross Current, 2 points. Alberto Dalbes was in A Quiet Place to Kill and Assassination in Rome, 2 points. Jorge Rigaud was in The Case of the Bloody Iris, All the Colors of the Dark, Death Walks on High Heels, Devil's Ransom, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, and Perversion Story, 6 points. Eduardo Fajardo was in The Two Faces of Fear and Your Sweet Body to Kill, 2 points. Saturno Chera was in Kill the Poker Player, 1 point. Jose Felix Montoya was in the Eye of the Hurricane, 1 point. Luis G. de Blain wrote Kill the Poker Player, 3 points. And Antonio Troiso wrote The Designated Victim, 3 points. Cliché points for the title. Murder Mansion contains the word murder, 5 points. First look, 5 points for the Spanish director, and 15 points for the movie releasing during the golden age of Giallo cinema. And would you look at that? It is plot o'clock. The movie opens with a credits sequence. Afterward, we follow this man tearing up the pavement. He aggressively passes this other guy on a motorbike. Reckless driving, 5 points. The biker says, "Okay, let's dance," and races to catch up. Car chase, 7 points. Driving on a winding road on a mountain setting, 2 points. They speed past this couple in the Volkswagen. The race goes on so long that they seem to pass the timberline, where the landscape is now covered in snow. The biker overtakes the car, but then slows it down. He pulls over to pick up this hitcher, but the car barrels past and picks the girl up instead. In the car, he cops a feel, but she says,
"Whoa, no touchy. No touchy. No touch."
G is for gloves. Extra points for them being black. 10 points. At a roadside bar, the biker finds the hitcher and asks her about the guy who gave her a ride. She tells him he's a jerk who assumed he can get some because he offered her a ride. They decide to leave together, but they are confronted by the driver outside, but blow him off rather easily. The couple in the car arrive at this building and walk inside. The people sitting here playing cards gossip. They mention Eduardo Fajardo's character over there had remarried a widow and that he is now in charge of Elsa's affairs. They mention Elsa had sent her husband Ernest to solve the issues in Soren. Elsa is a businesswoman, they say. Exposition dumping, 2 points. T is for telephone, 5 points. This is Elsa, and this is Ernest. J is for J and B, 5 points. Ernest is supposed to be there to conduct business with Elsa and her lawyer, but he is being held up, waiting for a notary to sign important documents the couple need by tomorrow morning. They hang up. Ernest sees the two from the motorbike eating, deciding whether they stay here in Soren for the night or risk traveling the last hour now to Milan before it gets dark. They decide to leave now. C is for children, 5 points. Fred, the guy with the motorcycle, asks about a new highway and an old road and which is the best route. The barkeep tells him the old road is shorter, but risks fog at dusk. Second time this year that Lisa Leonardi is distracting men.
People like me are popular.
Quiet, booby. He's likely to bark back.
We drop in on Ernest with a mistress. I is for infidelity, 5 points. Ernest argues with his mistress over finally leaving Elsa. He says that their happy marriage changed after her father died and she took over his affairs. His mistress offends him a second time and tries to make things better. We get this cherry of a line.
Cariño, ¿de qué sirve el dinero sin amor?
¿Y de qué sirve el amor sin dinero?
Almost better than his line in A Quiet Place to Kill.
Why, of course, with all Maurice's women, a little confusion is easy.
One might get jealous and kill you.
They kiss in the most ugly way. Elsa tells her lawyer that Ernest has the notarized document, but that he had car problems and that she needs to pick him up and be back in an hour. L is for lies, 5 points. The lawyer offers to drive, but she rejects this. He says in any case, he and his wife will head home tonight so he can process the papers first thing in the morning. Fred and Laura pull over to check the map. They're lost. An old car comes up the road, and Fred tries to ask for directions, but the car nearly hits him and speeds on by. Inside appears to be a woman with a chauffeur. They take note of the license plate. Mr. and Mrs. Tremont follow behind Elsa, but lose her in the fog. Mr. Tremont is suspicious and speeds up, hoping to catch up to Elsa. His wife calls him an idiot for speeding. He tells her to shut up. Typical 1970s Italian misogyny, woman is told to shut up. 2 points. They see an oncoming car.
¡A la derecha, que chocamos!
Y is for yelling. Extra points for a hysterical woman yelling. 10 points. It's Mr. Porter. They collide. Elsa is driving blind through the fog and nearly crashes into a cemetery wall. First person POV, 5 points. Fred and Laura pull off to speak with this Grim Reaper-looking man. Elsa inspects her engines. Car trouble, 2 points. The Grim Reaper guide tells them which road to take to head to Milan. They ask him if he saw an old car on the road, but he claims no cars have passed by. Elsa gives up on the car and explores the graveyard. She is scared proper good, and then sees what may be an apparition, a ghostly chauffeur, and he's not alone. She screams out asking who they are. Q is for questions, extra points for questions being yelled, 10 points. She flees into the fog. Fred and Laura crash out. They end up smooching. Elsa runs into them. She claims she's being chased, but there's no one there. She states that she got lost in the fog, but asserts that she was on the right road. They inspect the cemetery together, but there's no one else here. Elsa tells them about the breathing she heard, and the chauffeur she saw, and the woman in black. Fred and Laura confirm that they had seen them earlier on the road. Fred says that despite them being lost in the fog, the cemetery means that there must be living people nearby, and so they decide to look around. They end up finding the Rolls Royce from earlier. The license plate matches. They look further and find an old manor house. They approach the door and knock. Close up on a door handle. Well, close enough. 5 points. The door opens, and inside they find Mr. Porter, who holds a gun on them. He invites them in. I like his coat and overall general attire, so let's do it. F is for fashion, 5 points. Inside as well is Mr. and Mrs. Tremont. Art featured, extra points for it being central to the plot, 10 points. We see a portrait of an old woman over the fireplace. Mr. Porter says he answered the door with his pistol because when he and the Tremonts arrived, they saw a uniformed man trying to break in, but that they disappeared into the fog. Their description gives Elsa a flashback. Mr. Porter claims he would have found his way to Milan if they didn't crash into him, but now, he laments, they are stuck here. An unseen woman upstairs confirms this. She says the fog will last until morning, and that they are all welcome to remain here until then. Z is for zoom. Extra points for a zoom on eyes, 10 points. E is for eyeballs, 5 points. Fred notices a stark similarity between this woman and the woman in the painting. She says there are 4 rooms. The woman, Miss Martha Clinton, had found the others outside in the fog and brought them inside. She says Milan is 15 kilometers away, but one must wait for the fog to clear up. Martha says she was traveling by bicycle on a particular path, but likewise it is inaccessible right now. Fred dares to give it a shot on his motorcycle, citing that his crash was due to the fork in the road. She dissuades him by revealing that the roads are terribly confusing right now and for him to wait until the fog clears. She says that she was on her way to Milan when the fog rolled in and she was forced to stop for the night, taking refuge here. She says she owns this property, but lives in town. Martha says she recognizes Elsa as a resident in Milan. She goes on to tell the story of this manor and this abandoned small town. The locals were superstitious, and there was an epidemic and tales of vampirism. After 12 people died, the locals buried their dead and left for good. Suddenly, a beastly sound comes from the cellar. Fred goes to inspect it, but Martha protests. She adds that last time she'd seen a rat down there. Mr. Porter offers to shoot the rat with his pistol. She protests again, and since the noise has now stopped, they drop it. Martha now speaks about the woman in the portrait, her great-aunt, Julie Clinton. She says that the woman was into witchcraft, and if not for the cemetery, then no one would know there ever was a town here. She adds that there was a brutish servant who was always at her side, and both had died one day when he was drunk driving her Rolls Royce and crashed into the cemetery wall, killing them both. The lady had broken her neck, and the man had pierced his chest with the steering wheel rod. Supernatural elements, 2 points. Elsa has a panic attack. After some fresh air, she feels better, but she needs to lie down. Apparently, she has nerves and takes medication. This condition began after her father had died of a heart attack when he was found with a young mistress in Elsa's bed. It was quite the scandal in town. Elsa, ever since her mother had died when she was a young girl, had grown very fond of her father, and his death destroyed her. Oh, by the way, set in a manor or chateau, extra points for a group of people being here for a duration, 10 points. Later, Elsa awakens. Martha offers her a sedative to calm her nerves. Character takes sedatives, 5 points. Mr. Porter checks up on the women, then returns to his room, which is filled with occult paintings. It honestly looks more like a dungeon than a bedroom. Elsa changes into a nightgown, and Martha sees her to bed, then leaves. Fred and Laura prepare to sleep in the living room by the fire. Martha checks on them, provides blankets, then retires, saying she'll see them in the morning. There's an ominous stinger with this slow zoom on her as she watches them, as if the movie is saying don't trust her. The Tremonts get ready for bed. Mr. Porter pounds whiskey from a flask, hears a sound, grabs his gun, and goes to investigate. There's nothing there, and he seems to have a weak heart. Fred and Laura agree to search the cellar. Fred notices how the lock is smooth, despite Martha remarking that it hadn't been opened in years. Fred reminds Laura about the supposed rat, claiming that that story was BS, and on the opposite side of the door, the two find scratch marks level with a person's height. They return to the living room. Mr. Tremont seems to have a dream about the uniformed man skulking about, or maybe it is really happening. We don't really know. We then receive this out-of-pocket love scene, which feels very forced, but, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out how unnatural it feels. Unfortunately, all we get in this Spanish film is implied nudity. Mr. Porter awakens. His heart seems to be on the fritz. He checks the hallway. His heart is herd pounding. His vision blurs. He continues to drink as he overlooks Fred and Laura sleeping side by side. In bed, Elsa has a flashback. Gratuitous 1970s dancing, 2 points. At a refined gathering, Elsa walks through a crowd and sees her father, played by Giallo veteran Jorge Rigaud. Elsa is upset when she sees her father agree to dance with a younger woman. A man swoops in to offer Elsa a dance, and she agrees. Her memory is interrupted by Mr. Porter walking in. She asks him to leave, but he seems desperate to not be alone right now. He offers her whiskey for a second time, and she commands him point blank to leave. On his way out, he makes a comment about him figuring as much about her, but leaves what he means unsaid. The flashback continues. Elsa talks to her father in sort of a flirty way, then confronts him about dancing with a woman her age, insinuating that he likes him young. He points out how she was dancing with a different man and suggests that she get far away from Ernest, citing the fact that his wealth has come from inheritance and not hard work, evidence that he is no good. He leaves. Ernest shows up. Elsa asks them to reconcile their relationship, and Ernest relents. They leave together. As they pull out of the driveway, Elsa sees her father hooking up with a young woman in the backseat of a parked car. Necking, 5 points. At least I think they are. Honestly, it goes by so fast. Elsa, realizing this movie is more gothic than giallo, decides to smoke a cigarette in bed to restore some giallo vibes. Her flashbacks continue. Elsa and Ernest return home, go upstairs, and convene in the bedroom. Elsa gets undressed, then lies on the bed, and Ernest sort of just caresses her. It's clear that sex is a difficult prospect with her. Crazy how this came out one day after Your Vice is a Locked Room, and both films feature a principal character with strong incestuous hang-ups to their parent of the opposite sex. Mr. Porter knocks on Martha's door and comes inside, but behind him is the ghostly chauffeur. Laura awakens alone and presumes Fred has gone into the cellar. Mr. Porter offers Martha whiskey, and she asks him to turn around. He does, and sees the chauffeur approach him, closer and closer, until Mr. Porter's heart gives out and he collapses, dying as Martha looks on with cold indifference. She smiles. Laura gets dressed, grabs a candle, and proceeds into the cellar to look for Fred. What she finds appears to be expansive corridors. Above her, she sees a rack of metal hooks. Laura is then scared away by the presence of rats. Animals featured, rats, 2 points. Her candlelight goes out. Laura backs up slowly and is grabbed by someone. It is Fred. He makes her keep calm, apologizing that he didn't know it was her and that he'd turned his flashlight off. He invites her to follow him to where he says he's found a crypt, the Clinton family mausoleum. Elsa, still in bed, has yet another flashback. She is distant later that night after Ernest and her presumably had sex. She has flashbacks within the flashback now. It's unclear whether any of this is real or a projection, but she sees her father chastising her arrangement with Ernest, and then Ernest doing the same thing. He then sits up in bed and shouts that his wife failed him. Just then, Martha enters and says she'd heard yelling and that she came in earlier to check up, but Elsa was fast asleep. Martha states that Elsa had had a nightmare, offers to stay with her to both calm her down and keep her company, and asks her what the nightmare was about, but Elsa urges that it is private. Fred shows Laura the Clinton crypt and points out a tomb inscribed with the name Julie Clinton. It appears she really did live and die 30 years ago. The slab has been removed, and when Fred checks inside, he finds it empty. Fred says either Martha Clinton is lying to them all about the epidemic and the vampire, or something supernatural really is occurring. Laura asks if he means to say that Martha is the vampire. He says, well, not necessarily, but regardless, he is trying to work it all out. Elsa awakens in bed and rolls over. Suddenly Martha rolls over, only it isn't Martha. It is Julie Clinton. Elsa runs out of the bed, downstairs, and flings the door open, but only finds the chauffeur approaching. She slams the door shut and begins to hear him outside banging on the door. Julie Clinton stalks towards Elsa, and she books it. She takes a piece of firewood, which has conveniently become a torch, and she flees into the cellar. She runs and runs, but crashes into something. It's the dead body of Mrs. Tremont hanging from the hooks above. Extra points for Z is for a zoom on a dead body. 5 more points. Elsa screams and screams, then passes out. The torch starts a fire. Fred and Laura follow the crypt out to the cemetery. They find a figure watching them from one of the tombstones, and Fred confronts it. It's Porter. Gunshots ring out. Fred dives down and makes his way over to Porter. He calls out to Laura. He shows her how Porter is dead and has been for some time due to rigor mortis already setting in. They wonder how the shots were fired then. They hear a new sound approaching. It is the chauffeur and Julie Clinton. They stalk closer, but Porter's tumbling body distracts Fred for an instant, and the ghosts disappear. Fred declares that they are trapped here in this fog, and that there's no use trying to get out, and so they should grab Porter and return to the house. They arrive, knock, and are let in by Martha, who asks them what is going on. He says Porter is dead. Mr. Tremont comes out and declares that his wife is missing, and that he couldn't find anyone in Elsa's room. The two women are missing. They all smell something burning and see smoke billowing out of the cellar. Inside, they find Mrs. Tremont's body and Elsa incapacitated. Mr. Tremont returns to the living room and collapses. Fred carries Elsa out while Laura tries to kill the fire. We watch someone drift through the fog and into the Clinton family crypt. Fred leaves Laura to look after Elsa while he figures out what the hell is going on. He gives her Porter's pistol. On the way out, he tells the others that he will brave the fog, and despite them urging him not to attempt it, he leaves. We receive another ominous beat here with Martha, but we already know that she's kind of up to something. She tells him if he makes it to Millen to bring the police. Fred leaves, but actually sneaks back to the house so he can creep back into the crypt. He weasels inside. The unseen figure passes the body hanging, which seems to be fake. Fred finds the rolls. Laura brings a blanket, but Elsa asks why she left her alone. She wants her clothes, but Laura insists that she remain in bed. However, she agrees to get Elsa's clothes from the wardrobe. Inside the wardrobe is Mrs. Tremont's dead body with a ghostly light. Laura shoots the figure, and the two women take off. In the hallway, though, they are trapped by Julie Clinton. Laura shoots her too, but it has no effect. They retreat into another room and barricade the door. Inside this room, they find Mrs. Tremont, who wakes up confused. She says her husband gave her sleeping pills and she passes out again. Fred finds an audio recorder, and the playback is the exact ghostly, ominous sounds they all have been hearing all night. Audio recording device, 5 points. Odd clue, 5 points. We cut back to find Julie Clinton is a costume being worn by Martha. U is for undercover, 5 points. Fred returns out into the cemetery, but he is attacked by the chauffeur. The two scuffle for a little bit, before the chauffeur applies a rear naked choke and drops the unconscious Fred. His face is clearly a latex mask. The man sets the recorder in the car, then rips his mask off, revealing some guy. The three women remain barricaded in the room. Downstairs, Martha stokes the fire. Out comes Mr. Tremont, dressed in all black and carrying the fake head of his wife. We learn now that Mr. Tremont was working with Martha, who is an actress. He relays the circumstances of the night. Porter is dead from a heart attack. Elsa is insane. Fred and Laura believe that Porter's corpse had shot at them, and that mostly all of the bullets were blanks. During the scene, we keep cutting back to someone's eyes. Mr. Tremont wipes the prints from the gun and returns it to Porter's pocket. Martha, or whoever she is, says they must dismount the speakers and wipe the magnetic tape. He says Igor will take care of that, who I assume is the chauffeur guy, which is funny because he looks like an Igor, doesn't he? Martha ponders how ridiculous the youngsters will look tomorrow when they tell the police their story of ghosts and vampires, quipping that they'll probably be admitted to a madhouse as well. An unseen figure approaches them, who appears to be another accomplice. Mr. Tremont says that everything has gone well, that he and Martha had performed their duties exactly, but that this man must double the amount he pays them. The person draws a gun on them. In walks Igor, who is shot. Mrs. Tremont awakens from the gunshot upstairs, but falls right back asleep. Mr. Tremont asks what the meaning of all this is, claiming that they'd done their part already. He backs down and agrees to the original amount promised, but the figure shoots him dead. Martha then begs to be spared, but she is shot dead as well. Her body lands near the fireplace, and her hair starts burning. The killer's identity is hidden due to the framing and editing, 2 points. Betrayal by the killer, 5 points. The gunman is Ernest. Well, this is odd, but technically, hidden identity of the killer until the final moments, 5 points. He places the 2 pistols in the hands of Igor and Mr. Tremont. Fred awakens outside. Fuck! I say someone awakens a lot in this movie. Ernest removes the fake body of Mrs. Tremont from the cellar corridors and begins chopping it up. Fred bursts inside the house, finds everybody dead, and a mannequin burning in the fireplace. Oh, my bad. That's Martha. He runs upstairs, searching for Laura. The 2 are reunited. Fred urges Laura that the 2 must leave this instance to fetch the police. The others will just have to remain here. We see Ernest putting the pieces of the mannequin in a satchel. Evidence seen being hidden. 5 points. Fred and Laura flee outside in a very, very convincing shot. Elsa gets up, staggers downstairs, and falls onto Mr. Tremont's body. She grabs the gun and turns to find Ernest walking in. She immediately shoots him several times, but she sees her father. H is for hallucinations. 5 points. Ernest falls dead. The killer is killed by someone. 10 points. The killer dies accidentally by gunshot. 5 points. Elsa collapses to the floor, completely insane now. The young couple drive out of the fog and towards town. And the movie ends there. Let's add up some final cliches. S is for secrets. I guess I'll say extra points for the killer having an impossible to predict motivation. 10 points. O is for obsession. To Elsa, and since she technically does kill someone, extra points for the killer being obsessed. 10 points. Extra points for I is for infidelity, for murders occurring after the fact. 5 more points, and extra points for T is for telephone, for the killer making a call. 5 more points. And that's Murder Mansion. Okay, yeah, so usually after I write the GialliTally, I have a fonder appreciation of the Giallo I'm covering, even the ones that I didn't really care for the first time. This is probably the first one that I still just, I don't really care for it all that much. It's not bad. It's certainly somebody's cup of tea. It's just not mine. It's just too, I don't know. It's very Scooby-Doo-ish, but not even in the right ways, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it's funny because it's kind of hard to follow, and it's not hard to follow as in it doesn't make sense or it's confusing. It's just kind of boring. Oh my god, even going through writing the script, it's like I was fast forwarding on like 5 speed a lot, because it's just like walking around, nothing happening. Oh, there we go. And the movie is already like short, like 1 hour and 26 minutes, and I feel like they could have easily cut 10 minutes out. It's very similar in a way to Death Falls Lightly, with a very similar reveal at the end, but Death Falls Lightly definitely pulled it off better, although this movie handles the more spooky elements better, arguably, because it more so leans into the gothic tone. But even then, it pulls its punches, again, if that makes sense. Yeah, I gotta say that it just doesn't make all that much sense. It's not that I am confused, I don't get it. It's just, when you get to the end, you're like, okay, so the lawyer was working with this woman, or they were hired by Elsa's husband Ernest to drive her insane so they could steal her inheritance, or they could steal her fortune. Sure, it's not like it's just another one of those examples of I've seen it done better before, but it's fine. And then who the hell is the Igor guy? Like, that's really weird. Like, I don't like when a movie is like, oh, and by the way, this person who is under a mask, random guy. Like, okay. Whatever, I'm getting off. Let's segue to the GialliTally cliches for this movie. Post-Giallo viewing cliches. The reason for the killing. Well, greed and gain for most of them, but that last one is a bit of psychological trauma, and despite it being just one kill, I will allow it. So, 7 points. The reason for the investigation. None of the above, but I will grant amateur sleuths. 5 points. Bonus points. The style bonus. The movie employs a few stylistic tropes. We have some zooms, some POVs, a fair amount of Bava-style focus rack transitions, and usage of slow motion. The style fits the tone, but doesn't necessarily make this movie feel more like a Giallo. Out of a maximum of 25 points possible, I will give Murder Mansion 12 points for its style bonus. Soundtrack. I can't in good faith say this is a Giallo soundtrack. This is more of a classic horror soundtrack, like from the old days of horror. No points. Bad effects. Yes, I would say no, but we have a terrible mannequin at that one point, which is a stand-in for a body burning. And they only show it for like a quarter of a second, which means they knew it was bad. Between 10 and 15 points possible, I'll give this 11 points for bad effects. They didn't have many, but the one that they had was really bad. Final look, extra points. The Deadpool, tallying how many kills and deaths are featured in the film. I break it down as thus: 10 points per kill or death scene for the main Deadpool, plus any stylistic kill multipliers, which we didn't add yet, plus the knife kill bonus. We have Mr. Porter, heart attack, 10 points. Igor, shot dead, 10 points. Mr. Tremont, shot dead, 10 points. Martha, shot dead, 10 points. And Ernest, shot dead, 10 points. That is not a Giallo, let me tell you. Extended Deadpool for those other deaths mentioned but not seen. I'll give 3 points for each. Julie Clinton, the chauffeur, and Elsa's father, 9 points. We hear about as many as 12 people who died in the legend, but I cannot verify if this is valid or just hocus pocus. Red herrings for the total number of legitimate suspects in the film. 5 points per legit suspect are awarded. We have Martha Clinton, Elsa, Ernest, Mr. Porter, Mr. Tremont, and Mrs. Tremont. 30 points for red herrings. Basically, everybody except Fred and Laura. They're just too random and too inquisitive to be revealed to be part of the conspiracy. Like, if they were, it just would not make any sense. It would be such a left field thing. I almost didn't include the Tremonts, but they're not entirely without suspicion. Flashback sequences, 5 points each. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 40 points for flashback. Nudity, I award 5 points for ass, 7 for breasts, and 10 for genitalia. We have none. 0 points for nudity. Ladies and gentlemen, for Murder Mansion, I awarded the film an AZ score of 15 out of 26. With the bonus points for these, we have a modified score total of 120 points. And for the full GialliTally score, I award Murder Mansion a GialliTally score of 444 points, compared to Short Night of Glass Dolls in first with 969 points, What Have You Done to Solange in second with 933 points, and Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key in third with 847 points. Murder Mansion is in around 40th place. I predicted around 525, 575 points, and I knew I was kind of aiming high, but I just thought, you never know. But yeah, I was not surprised when the final score was in the 400s. But like I say, these points do not mean a movie is better or worse. Please like this video, share it with your friends if they are horror fans or cinephiles, subscribe to The King in Giallo if you haven't yet, and if you have any questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, leave those below in the comments section and I will get back to you. Give The King in Giallo a follow on Instagram and a like on Facebook, subscribe to The King in Giallo Patreon to see early access to all of the YouTube videos, exclusive video series that can only be found there, and to generally support what I do. Next time on The King in Giallo will be the Forgotten Giallo film series, episode 26, 1972, part 5. And then will be the overview, review, and GialliTally for the second Giallo film from Emilio Miraglia, The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, released on August 18th, 1972. Thank you very much for your continued support, and a special thank you to those who support me on Patreon. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.